This is the YOB ConvoCast, one-on-one conversations with your other brother's authors, community members, supporters, and friends.
What's up, friends, and welcome back to the YOB ConvoCast, conversations with people that make this thing go. And the guy that I am talking to today, he usually comes on this podcast on a yearly basis. At least he has the last two Februaries, and it's always a blessing. I mean, it's a blessing whenever he joins the podcast team or if he's alone with me as he is today. Technically, he's not alone with me today. We'll have to explain who else is in the room with us in just a moment. But he's back for his yearly education of the Super Bowl for our listening audience who may or may not be as invested or knowledgeable about what's going on this year. There's a lot going on this year that we have to get to. And so there's no one else I'd rather talk to than my other brother and yours, Andrew Zuniga. What's up, Andy?
Hello. Let me just say this. Once upon a time on this podcast, I don't know if I would say I was a regular guest, but I was a recurring guest.
Yeah.
And now it seems like I am only useful for my football knowledge. Okay. I don't want you to stereotype me as the straight man whose only beneficial element is his sports knowledge. Okay.
That's all you're here for.
I can contribute other things too, brother.
Let's just, you know what? Let's just ditch the Super Bowl conversation. Let's talk about our feelings.
Yes.
Let's talk about analyzing emotions as men and how to express them authentically. Because, in masculine culture, we're told to stifle them and just be a man and deal with it. Don't go to therapy and just be okay.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? But no. We value you more than just your sports knowledge, but you do have sports knowledge.
Sure.
I mean, how many sports podcasts do you listen to?
I listen to a lot of ongoing sports talk shows.
That's okay. So that's more than, I guarantee you, more than 99% of our listening audience listens to the sports podcast that you do. Before we get too far, Andrew, tell us who's joining us today. You didn't have this guest with you last year.
Joining me today is my little puppy dog. His name is Milo. He's currently licking my hand because I just finished my supper. And so he's kind of going to town right now. A little weird.
Licking those fingers.
But he's a good boy. He's a little 1-year-old cockapoo named Milo. And he is the sweetest dog in the world.
You can't say that on this podcast.
Sorry, cock-a-doodie.
A cockapoo is on your lap. That is so beautiful. He is a good boy. He's a little cray-cray sometimes.
Yes.
He gets a little antsy.
In his
then
feelings.
You drug him. You told me that you drug him when he gets crazy, and so then that helps him mellow out.
Yes, we drug him.
Which is a great metaphor.
Yes, he's got a little bit of anxiety, so we give him some anxiety medicine that kind of evens him out, and yeah, then he's all good.
I got to see him a few weeks ago. It was a wonderful, wonderful reunion. Honestly, it was almost a year ago, brother. That was when I visited you in the aftermath of last year's Super Bowl. I watched the big game with you because our Philadelphia Eagles were represented in that game. And if listeners remember, we did a podcast last year in 2023 about the Eagles being in the Super Bowl. Spoiler alert for those, it's been a year now, but the Eagles did not triumph in that game. So how are you doing? How are you doing a year later? And they faltered in this year's playoffs pretty early. So how are you handling?
Yeah. Speaking of men having to go to therapy,
here we go.
It's been a difficult season for me. You're going to learn in today's episode that the National Football League really, really, really wants the Chiefs to win. They wanted them to win last year. For those of you who probably don't remember, the Eagles lost the Super Bowl, and it was decided on a really ticky-tacky holding call right at the end that pretty much guaranteed the Chiefs win. And I hate to blame the refs, but in last year's Super Bowl, the refs had a little too much say.
Okay, because I was about to ask you, when you say they want the Chiefs, like who is they? Is there like a cabal? Is there a room with people in dark cloaks deciding that this team needs to win and this team needs to lose?
The National Football League.
Because when I hear stuff like that, I always get skeptical, like, y'all, just maybe one team was just better than the others. But when it comes to something subjective, because a lot of sports, there's objectives, something was either in bounds or out of bounds.
Yes.
Especially when we have instant replay on a lot of things now in most sports. But there are some calls, that referees make that, one referee would say that is a holding call, which I still don't know what holding is. And then another referee would say that it's not. And so then then it can be a little like, okay, maybe there's something in the water there.
Yes. So with last year's Super Bowl, typically you kind of go with how the vibe is throughout the game. Like sometimes a ref will be playing it very strict and say like, this is going to be a no nonsense game. I'm just going to start throwing flags left and right. I don't want you overreacting to anything that's kind of happening on the field. So basically if there's any amount of holding, I'm calling a holding call. Sometimes there's a little bit more roughness, and a ref will say, all right, we're going to let them play. Or there's going to be fewer calls this game. And last year's Super Bowl was kind of like that. It was we're going to let them play. There wasn't a whole lot of penalties. It was a high-scoring game as a result of that.
So it felt inconsistent.
Exactly, consistency. And so they failed to be consistent in the most pivotal moment. And that was crushing because they decided the game. It pretty much guaranteed the Chiefs to win. It converted a first down right when it was about to be fourth down. They were going to kick a field goal and be done with it. But instead, they were able to run out the clock, and we never got a chance to run it back.
I vividly recall. So I spent the Super Bowl with you last year, you and your lovely wife, and we had a nice Super Bowl dinner together. Most of that game was vastly in the Eagles' favor. I remember they were leading like the whole game. It was a great night. And then as all of that was as the game was dwindling, and it seemed like the tides were turning. And you were standing up like 6 inches away from the TV as you were wont to do.
Yes.
So me and your wife were in the background, and we were just like making eyes at each other while your world was crumbling. I mean, my world too. I don't want to be like detached, like I didn't care, because I was invested. I wanted the Eagles to win, of course. But it's on another level with you. Like I'm watching her, and she's watching me, and we're watching you, and you're like physically deflating before our eyes. And so it was. Hopefully we were there for you in your defeat in your time of lowliness.
Yes.
Yeah. We were there with you after that happened.
It was difficult. But yeah, going into this year, I was like, you know what? Roster is still very strong. We can run this thing back. And then we started off the season 10-1, looking great, looking strong. And then miraculously.
And I told Andy, like, I will never watch the first 10 or 11 games of a football season because it's just too much for me to keep up with. But when the season starts wrapping up, I feel like you're kind of the same way with baseball. Like, baseball is a much longer commitment, certainly. But like, I'll pay attention when the season's wrapping up, and then as it gets to the playoffs, which the Eagles, more often than not, have been in the playoffs lately. So that's when I'll start to tune in and start to watch games. And this year was insane because, they started 10-1. I was like, okay, cool. Like, they must be the Super Bowl favorites. And then they, like, lost every game.
We won one game down the stretch.
You won one game in the last 2 months, I think. Yeah, it was
won
not
one game
great.
And then just totally forgot how to football. I've never seen an implosion like this year's Eagles. It was unbelievable.
Oh, I'm glad you're here today, despite the Eagles. You're wearing your Eagles shirt.
I am.
So you're still a fan, true to the bone. So glad to have you here representing, even though our team is not in the playoffs this year. So this year, those same Kansas City Chiefs, they are back in the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers. This is Super Bowl LVIII, which I think translates to 58, Super Bowl 58. It's an interesting matchup. I posted this on my Insta story. I was cheering for Baltimore versus Detroit because their colors are pretty, blue versus purple. But now we get red versus red, which feels less aesthetically pleasing to me. But A lot of interesting storylines that we will cover today. Part of me feels a little bit robbed because the listeners know we were going to be talking about a certain celebrity later in the episode, but she has become all the rage of conversation in lots of interesting and also bizarre ways in National Football League conversations this year. But one of the reasons last year's matchup was so intriguing, one of them, and I think we talked about it, was the fact that you had these two brothers in the game playing for the opposing teams. We have a Kelce, the Eagles,
sure do,
and the Chiefs have a Kelce. And how much more dramatic would that have been this year if this certain celebrity were dating one of the Kelces last year instead of this year? That would have been so intriguing to me.
It would have been intriguing because of one big reason, and that is the fact, drum roll please, Taylor Swift is an Eagles fan. Full stop, end of story.
What does that mean?
I am so sick of hearing how she is the world's biggest Chiefs fan. No. Let me stop you there. She is the world's biggest Travis Kelce fan. Okay? Yeah, I can accept that. It's her boyfriend. She's supporting her boyfriend. She is an Eagles fan. Grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania, is an Eagles fan, has a song written about being an Eagles fan. Taylor Swift, in her song Gold Rush, sings about having her Eagles sweatshirt. She sings about it.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So if we had a rematch this year, which is what I was hoping for, yeah, I would expect her to be wearing the same jersey that Mama Kelce was wearing. Okay.
I had no idea that she was born in Reading?
Reading, Pennsylvania.
Didn't she grow up in like the South somewhere?
No, she moved to Nashville and then
to Nashville.
Yeah. She grew up right up the road from our uncle.
I didn't know any of this, and I'm kind of astounded. I figured we would save Taylor Swift for the end of the episode, but because you wanted to eagerly talk about the storylines of the actual game.
What must it be like to grow up that beautiful with your hair falling into place like dominoes? I see me padding across your wooden floors with my Eagles t-shirt hanging from the door at dinner parties.
Wow. Andy, I am so, and our listeners too, they've got to be jumping up and down, hands raised, like
he's an Eagles fan.
Touchdown, like that.
You want to be like T-Swizzle and go for the Eagles. There you go.
I love Taylor Swift, but I don't have any deep dives into her discography and lyrics and songs and things. So thank you for just the Taylor Swift knowledge.
There you have it.
To just drop here at the start. We're gonna return to Taylor Swift shortly, so y'all stay tuned. We got more to talk about. But yeah, this year's matchup. Let's start with San Francisco. And really, honestly, you can mention some other players briefly if you want, but I really want to focus on the quarterback, Brock Purdy, who he's my winner of this year's cutest athlete award. I forget who it was last year. There's a gif of him like winking at the camera. And let me rattle off some facts about Brock Purdy, because he's got a hilarious, precious name. Like the name Brock Purdy doesn't sound like a real human name, but
sounds like a cartoon character.
I looked it up. It was like it's got to be a nickname or something, but I think that's his name. I think Brock is his name. Yeah. Brock Purdy. He's also my and your brother in Christ. Let us put that out there as well. Believer.
There's a lot of Christians Jesus on the field, Tom.
There are
a lot.
Yeah, not to think that God is cheering for San Francisco.
Yeah, because of Brock Purdy.
But anyway, Brock Purdy. But something I did my own little deep dives, brother. He is possibly the MVP this year, is from what I was clicking around and learning. Possibly the MVP. And something I didn't know, I had no idea. He is Mr. Irrelevant.
Sure.
Do you want to explain what Mr. Irrelevant means in NFL terms?
Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant. So every year during the draft, so I'm a big NFL draft nerd. Okay, go ahead and put me in that box. So every year during the NFL draft, you're selecting the players from this year's rising juniors, seniors. Basically, in college, you have to play X number of years, and then you can report eligible for the NFL draft. And so the NFL draft is 7 rounds, There are 32 teams. I don't have a calculator in front of me, but at the end of 7 rounds, the last player selected, whatever number that is, I think it's like 251 or something, that player is nicknamed Mr. Irrelevant. And it's kind of been a very kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of nickname that's kind of been cast upon all these players who was drafted last.
Because if you're picked last, what can you do if you're picked last? All those other people are picked in front of you.
Yeah. So Brock Purdy was picked last in the draft last year, I believe. This is his second year in the league. Halfway through the league, or halfway through last year's NFL season, he came in. The 49ers had a lot of injuries, so they kind of went through. He was the third string quarterback at the time, and all of a sudden he started playing. He started playing pretty good. Get it? Brock Purdy. Get used to hearing that a lot, by the way. He started playing pretty good. And so, then he kind of won the starting job, and now here he is playing for a Super Bowl. I love the story of Brock Purdy.
I also want to comment that I was commenting on his precious face. Some of our listeners and readers and community members were commenting on they enjoyed his glutes as well and his commitment to glutes. So I want to put that out there that there's many facets of Brock Purdy that are appreciated in our community. Just wanted to give a shout out to our faithful community. Okay, we need to keep this train moving. Who else on San Francisco should we be paying attention to before we spend the rest of our time in Chiefs Taylor Swift land?
2 big names to be watching for, especially on offense. Number 1 is going to be Christian McCaffrey.
Another brother in Christ.
Yeah, it's in his name. He's a Christian.
His name
McCaffrey
is literally Christian.
Yeah. He is the running back, one of the most dynamic players in the league. Christian McCaffrey is excellent. Another name to look out for is George Kittle. He's the tight end for San Francisco. And I'll give you one more name, Deebo Samuel. Wide receiver for the 49ers. All offensive players, all very, very, very good. Nick Bosa on the defense, a name to be looking out for. I'll say this about San Francisco. They are loaded, and I mean loaded. Their roster is incredible. I'll say this. Brock Purdy is an MVP finalist. He's probably the weak point on the team, just to be blunt and honest. All things considered, he's probably the weak point on the team, and that just tells you how great the rest of their team really is. That's San Francisco.
Is this going to be a high scoring game? Is this high offense on both sides? Do you see this as a high scoring game?
Well, do we want to get into the Chiefs?
We'll get to your prediction at the end. Yeah, go ahead and talk about the Chiefs. So the only thing so my storylines for the Chiefs, we have obviously Travis Kelce's on the team. Patrick Mahomes, who's in all of those commercials. You'll probably see him 50 times on commercials. Andy Reid, who is still the coach, the former coach of the Eagles, making yet another return to the Super Bowl, his 5th one. So he's been to the Super Bowl a bunch. He's like Mr. Hall of Fame coach now. Wasn't that way when he was coaching the Eagles, but
he was
very
pretty good, but he wasn't this.
He couldn't get the playoff wins and the Super Bowl wins with the Eagles. But then I remember last year you also mentioned, in addition to Patrick Mahomes, you gave some time to Patrick Mahomes' brother as well.
The worst.
Who you love.
The worst human being. And honestly, the best part about the Taylor Swift mania is that when they report live to the Mahomes box, you see Mahomes' wife, which she's another head case, but you see Taylor Swift and not awful, awful brother Mahomes. Oh, he is the worst
have the Mahomes,
man.
We have the Kelce brothers, and then we have the Mahomeses, the Mahomes brothers. What a great crew. So tell us a little bit about the Chiefs, any of those characters or anyone else that comes to mind.
There's something about teams that are starting over after either a Super Bowl win or a Super Bowl loss. It's called the Super Bowl hangover is what it's called. And so a lot of teams feel this, where basically it's you fight so hard all season long to get to the top, and you get to the top of the mountain and you're either victorious or you're not. And there is the height of glory that is found there, or there is the pit of despair that is found there that the Eagles found in week 12. The Chiefs all season long kind of had a little bit of that Super Bowl hangover aspect to them, where offensively, they just didn't look like they were all the way there. Mahomes is still Mahomes, but none of his receivers looked good. His only real weapon was Travis Kelce, but he was starting to kind of show his age a little bit.
Let's be clear about who Travis Kelce is. He's the guy that catches the ball.
He catches the ball and he helps
Mahomes
block.
is the guy that throws the ball.
Correct.
That's right, because he's a tight end. I think you gave us some glossary terms last week.
Yes, which I expect everyone to remember all these terms. Yeah.
No, that's why I have to keep reminding you. You're talking to an audience that doesn't quite know / care, but we're talking about Taylor Swift. We're getting there. So I'm just laying it out. But yeah, the hangover.
Well, the thing is that I thought they'd be out a long time ago. And here they are still chipping away, still fighting.
Roaring back.
Yeah, roaring back. And so now it's like they kind of got it figured out close to the end of the season, and now they're clicking on all cylinders. So will this be a high-scoring game? That's a great question. I'll say this. The Chiefs' defense is excellent.
Okay.
The 49ers
I just knew they had good offenses.
Yeah, the 49ers defense is pretty good. The 49ers offense is excellent. Now the Chiefs offense is pretty good.
Why don't you go ahead and give us the prediction now? Because after this is kind of extra outside of the game stuff.
Sure.
So what are you predicting?
I'm predicting there's an interesting stat I heard recently. All right, here we go.
Out with it.
Well, hang on. Let's look at the money line real quick. Chiefs, Niners, Super Bowl.
Who's Vegas? Who does Vegas say will win? By the way, the Super Bowl is in Las Vegas for the first time, I think.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Because you want to give our listeners, for all the listeners who are gambling on this game, you're going to give them the best information. Here we go.
So the spread is San Francisco -2. So for those of you who don't know anything about gambling, basically Vegas is saying we're going to give the 49ers 2 points because we think they'll win by 2. So Vegas thinks that the Niners are going to win by 2, regardless of what the final score is. An interesting stat I've heard recently is that Patrick Mahomes in his career, when he is the underdog, he's like 11-1. And like he consistently like wins when he is the underdog, and he has like insane stats to back that up. So I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. I think on paper, the Niners are definitely the best team. I can't bet against the best quarterback and the best coach, arguably ever. This is where we're entering this territory already, and I can't believe we just did this with Brady, and now we're going to do it again with Patrick Mahomes. It's killing me.
Was Tom Brady Mr. Irrelevant? He was drafted pretty low.
He was pretty low. He was drafted in the 6th round, not
That's
the
crazy.
7th. But yeah, drafted 101, I believe. Anyways, my prediction is Kansas City Chiefs 28, San Francisco 49ers 23.
Okay.
Lock it in.
I'm going higher. 35-31.
Oh.
And I'm going to say that the Lord is on Bert's side.
Wow.
So I'm going to say San Francisco, just to add, I was already going to pick San Francisco anyway, but I'm going to pick San Francisco in a high-scoring, close game as well. So, but honestly, I would be thrilled. I love Andy Reid. I love seeing him get all happy and successful. And honestly, though, what a great cap to a season. The season of Taylor Swift, if she wins a Super Bowl as well. I mean, I think what a storyline that would be.
Yeah.
we got 10 minutes left, and I definitely want to devote a bunch of that to Taylor Swift. But real quick, I want to circle back up and tie a bow on the Kelce brothers. So as we mentioned, the Eagles were out early, and something that I latched onto throughout the playoffs was how Jason Kelce, the Eagles Kelce, would travel to these games and support his brother Travis, who is still in the playoffs and still playing with the Chiefs and succeeding round after round after round. And so there was this viral moment where they were playing in Buffalo, and it was like 0 degrees. It was insane. There were so many cold games this year. It was like 0 degrees
like
out.
Crazy. Yeah.
They got hit with a blizzard in Buffalo, New York, and he's in the box, shirtless, screaming. Like, I think I saw him. He was like pre-gaming with fans in the parking lot. With Bills fans,
yeah. With the opposing team.
But he's like supporting his brother and cheering for him. And there was another viral moment where he like lifted a little girl from the stands, like, and lifted her up so she could see Taylor Swift in the box, and like they waved to each other or something. And so I found that quite endearing. And just in general, just seeing Jason connect with Travis and just them. Like I saw another clip recently when Travis Kelce, when the Chiefs won the AFC championship to go to the Super Bowl just recently, they were like hugging on the field and said they were like, he was like proud of him or something of that nature. And I just really find their relationship endearing. They have this podcast which I'm sure you listen to or listen to clips of. So they have a podcast that's really popular. What's it called?
New Heights, which is where they're from in Ohio.
Oh yeah. So I see that on my TikTok feed every once in a while. I'll see a clip of them just connecting. And so, I don't know. Anything else you want to say about their brotherly bond?
Yeah. So I was just going to say, like, with that Buffalo game, so they talked about it on their podcast. Obviously Taylor and Travis started dating pretty much right at the beginning of football season. And it was the famous, like, the first game, there was kind of rumored that they were dating, and then there she is in the box in the suite, the very first game, and the cameras pan to her, and that was kind of like the reveal. Oh my goodness, they're dating, yay! And so whatever. So at that Bills game, obviously Travis has been playing all year. Jason's been playing all year. Eagles get out of bounds from the playoffs. Now it's their time to meet for the first time. And at that Buffalo game, when Jason Kelce, the Eagles center, is drunkenly taking his shirt off and jumping out of the box to go meet fans and shotgun beers with them, he said on the podcast the next day, yeah, that was the first time that me and my wife got to meet Taylor Swift. And my wife was basically like, you need to be on your best behavior. And he's like, babe, I don't know if you know anything about Bills fans, but they're kind of the wildest fans in the world. And I'm not asking. I'm telling you, the shirt's coming off at some point. This is part of the Jason Kelce charm. So I totally agree. Their relationship is wonderful, Jason and Travis. And so quick shout out. If you have Amazon Prime, they did a documentary about both of them called Kelce, Kelce. It's wonderful. And it shows just how much of a family they are and how much they really deeply care about each other, and you really kind of get to see the heartbeat behind who they are kind of in that documentary. Really, really neat. So yeah, I'm rooting for Travis. I'm rooting for Andy Reid, and that's about it. I don't really care about any of the other Chiefs. But
Patrick Mahomes' brother. I give him some more content for TikTok.
I'm over the Mahomeses. I'm over it. I
wanted to say because it's so funny too, because they're lovely men. I enjoy like seeing their video clips pop up. Travis is like the more slender, kind of chiseled brother, and Jason's kind of the more
burly.
What's the adjective?
Burly.
There we go. That's a good adjective. Yeah. He's got like, they both have big beards, but he's a little more rotund. He's a center. It's like you're in the middle of the field blocking people. So it's like built more toward him. So when he took his shirt off, what I'm saying is when he took his shirt off, it would have been a different appeal, I think, than if Travis did that.
Jason Kelce nominated for Sexiest Man Alive. Just saying. True story.
Oh, okay.
People Magazine, Sexiest Man Alive. Google it. Jason Kelce.
Okay.
He was like 6th.
All right. So Taylor Swift, this is the saga that has gripped the universe the last several months. And honestly, like, this is so interesting to me because, like, the camera will cut to her when Travis Kelce catches a touchdown or something. So it's like cuts to her for 2 or 3 or 4 seconds, and then it goes back to the field. Like, I think I saw a stat on this. Someone was talking about it where total time where she is on screen in a 3.5 hour football game, it's like 30 seconds, not even. It's like 20 seconds maybe. And so it's like the length of one commercial, essentially, if even that, like one commercial per game. And people are freaking out that she is dominating when she's like going to, what is she supposed to do? Not go and support her boyfriend, like stay at home and don't show up. And like, so this has ignited a little bit of a controversy. Not a controversy, but we've had some good discussions in YOB about this, where it's like, is this a Taylor Swift problem? Is this a media obsession problem? Is this a masculinity problem that football loving dudes are upset that this female pop star is taking over a lot of the attention over the game itself? Like, how do you interpret this whole Taylor Swift saga as we close this rousing conversation about the Super Bowl?
There's a lot behind it. But it's pretty simple. I heard something today that in her one season of dating this man, the NFL has generated I think it's something like $350 million off of
she's had a good season
going to games. So she's capturing for the NFL in a totally untapped market. She's the NFL now has viewers ages 12 to 30 female.
Yeah.
Who historically have not watched the NFL. So if I'm the NFL, yes, pan to her as often as possible. That's a lot of money. Also, you want to talk about power. My goodness. Being able to do that.
Power. Yeah.
She just went to games. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
it's not like she's like responsible for the camera cutting to her or something. No, she's going to games and just, I love it. Cause I will look at these TikToks and see them. Like there was a really sweet moment where they were kissing on the field and they were like wrapped arms around each other. Yeah. And I'm reading the comments and all of these girls, all these young women are commenting that this is the sweetest thing. And I love her. I love seeing her so content. I'm rooting for them. Like all this interaction, like I guarantee you, none of those women who commented on these TikToks are regularly commenting on NFL themed TikTok videos. So that is a very interesting.
Yeah. People just like to be upset about things. That's really the main thing. People love to be upset. I don't care. The only thing that I'm upset by is that people think that she's a Chiefs fan when she's not. She's a Travis Kelce fan. I'm not going to get over this.
To go back
He's
to
an
that,
Eagles fan. So yes, famous Eagles fan Taylor Swift goes to lots of Chiefs games to support loving boyfriend.
She must be wearing an Eagles t-shirt underneath all that
Has
red.
Has to be. Do I need to read the lyrics again?
Close to her heart. No, we already got that.
Okay.
Something else I was going to say is like I think there is a little bit of sexism in this too, because how many times at games, in any sport, are there celebrities in attendance? And it's like it's not a big deal. Like celebrities go to games, and male celebrities in particular, they go to games. Like Jack Nicholson went to these Lakers games, I think.
Yeah.
He was like always on the front row or whatever. And and that happens across the board. Basketball, football, baseball. Like celebrities go to games and the camera will cut to them because why? Because they're a celebrity and it's cool to see a celebrity watching the game. Yep. And nobody freaks out really. But now it's Taylor Swift. And so there's this big outrage against it. So I'm kind of over it. So part of me wants to see the Chiefs win. I'll kind of be happy either way, whether they win or they win, but I'm happy either way.
Yeah. So this happened about 15 years ago. I don't know if you know these two names. One you probably will. One your listeners probably won't. The Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo was dating Jessica Simpson, and it was a similar kind of controversy. Obviously, Taylor Swift is way bigger than Jessica Simpson ever was. Jessica Simpson was big.
Although there are some Jessica Simpson fans listening, no doubt.
Okay, there you go. There you have it. And just so you know, Jessica Simpson's probably an Eagles fan, and she was just dating Tony Romo. I don't actually know that to be true, but still, I digress. So this is kind of a thing where it's just like, okay, I think the upsetness that kind of happens with it is, I totally agree with what you said, where people kind of say like, oh yeah, we like to see celebrities at games. Yeah, totally get it. I think it's after every catch and after every touchdown. It does not bother me one bit, one iota. And I don't think it should be bothering these people one bit, one iota. I think it's the predictability of it. I think more than anything, where people are like 3, 2, 1, there she is. Got it. Okay. And she's jumping up and down and she's happy because Travis caught a pass. Of course.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It's just, I just know, for anyone who hasn't caught a single NFL game this year, but you're about to watch your first one with the Super Bowl, get ready for lots of shots. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's a controversy because she's going to be doing a concert in Tokyo the day before the Super Bowl. And so there's all these like people freaking out or like trying to chart her flight path. And
she's
is she going to land?
Jet fired up, ready to go by the moment she steps off that stage. She's heading to Vegas.
We'll see if she makes it to Vegas.
She's going to parachute in. That's my bold prediction. She parachutes in.
I'm looking forward to all the shots though. And
during the Usher halftime show, boom, she parachutes in and then she does a song with Usher. There it is.
I was gonna say we ran out of time today, Andy, to talk about Usher for the halftime show. Sadly,
Chattanooga's own Raymond Usher True story.
I had no idea.
Yep.
You were very educational today. I learned a lot from this podcast.
There you go. Actually grew up right up the road from me. Literally right up the road. He grew up from here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So y'all support Usher, Chattanooga's own.
Yeah. Yeah. Another don't let him lie to you, this A-Town down stuff. He claims Atlanta. I don't know why. He's from Chattanooga.
Well, I'm curious. I'm just curious with all the Taylor Swift frenzy this year. Like, what are the odds that she's going to be doing a halftime show in the near future? Like, I'm just curious.
I thought it would be
would
this
the
year.
NFL
before.
Yeah, would the NFL not approach her next year? Like, surely she must be in the conversation. She must be on the short list for people to perform. She's never done it.
Yeah, I'm really surprised she has. Because she is like right up their alley, perfect, exactly what they're looking for.
Although I'm sure many Swifties out there would say the Super Bowl is too small of a venue for her. I think she can exceed. She would dominate. Like, how many people would go to the game just to watch her and not watch the game?
I'm curious. What's easier to get into, a Taylor Swift concert or the Super Bowl? Super Bowl starting tickets, I remember when the Eagles went in 2017. Standing room only was $6,700,
which is insane. I have no idea who pays that to go to
Thought about it.
Like, if it ends and you lose, is that money wasted? That feels like money horribly wasted. $6,700, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, listeners, tell us what you think about Taylor Swift and about the big game, your big prediction, any of the matters that were discussed here today. Just go to yourotherbrothers.com/podcast. Check out our ConvoCast episode about the Super Bowl, LVIII, however you say that, and give us your Super Bowl thoughts, takeaways. Or if you're listening to this after the Super Bowl, tell us how the party went and how you enjoyed yourself and any other details. Andy and Milo, it was good to have you. Thank you for making your yearly appearance. Hopefully we'll have you back for something other than football this year.
I'm at your disposal. I'm a phone call away.
You need to send me a list of 3 subject matters that you would be open to discussing, and let's make a plan, like some number of months from now, to break this trend of Super Bowl only podcasts. Let's do something. Yeah, let's have another conversation. I think that would be great.
We'll talk about puppy parenthood.
There we go. We have some
boy.
listeners that have some new puppies. Yeah. He looks very nice and sedated right now. I don't know if you sedated him, but he looks relaxed in your
He's
arms.
just relaxed. No guests.
All right. Well, I'm sad to not watch the big game with you this year, brother, but maybe next year.
Next year. Go Birds.
And we'll definitely have a podcast then, but let's do another in the meantime. All right, then. So, listeners, until we cast our next convo, go football. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Aw, hello, boys.
Hey, Tom.
Milo. Oh, you can't hear me, probably.
Nope. No, he cannot. Who's that, Milo?
Milo needs cute little headphones. That'd be so cute. Connect.
Come here, buddy. Put these
to the
on.
floppy ears.
Nope. Not interested.